Okay, we're recording. Okay, we're good to go, Sab.
Okay, why don't you just introduce us? I'm just pulling up the slide.
All right. Well, hi guys. Welcome to tonight's call, tonight's Sovereign Life Team call. This is going to be a fun and unique opportunity to not only connect with the community, but to learn about the power of hydration, which is incredibly relevant, especially this month, because Meakin is so generously offering their buy one, get one 50% off promo with all the main water units. But in order to understand the value of what you're getting, to some degree, we need to re-educate ourselves on what proper hydration actually looks like and why it's so important, especially in this day and age when we consider the topic of health and well-being long-term. So we're going to discuss that in tonight's call. Sven is going to kick us off, and then we're going to kind of end off with some shared personal stories from some of the faces you see on tonight's call. So I'm excited, and yeah, let's re-educate together.
Awesome. Thanks for introducing, Selena. So to get started, of course, we're here with Meakin. And, you know, one of the biggest things that we know is water is everything in our life. So let's just talk about that. Our body is made up of, as you can see, as a female, 55% of water, males, 60%. But what's even interesting is that children are their bodies made up of 65%, and it goes greater when you're an infant. So first of all, it just shows us how important water as a whole is, not just for us as adults, but for us as when we're developing into who we are. So like every aspect of water impacts us on a cellular level, our cells, the minerals that we get. And as you can see here, you know, like everything in our environment is made up of water. Nature is water. It is one of our greatest life forces. But, you know, not all water is equal. And this is a conversation that we don't really have often. Not many people are even aware that, you know, they just think drink water and I'll be fine. But we don't recognize that, you know, you're not always hydrating properly. And so this is a big topic that we're going to be speaking about tonight. So consumption of water doesn't actually equal the hydration of water. And, you know, if we're going to be centering around health and wellness, then I think we can all agree after seeing, you know, the stats of what our bodies are made up of, that the quality of water that we consume must be prioritized in terms of our health. So one of the Gina Bria, she's a cultural anthropologist and founder of the Hydration Foundation. And she was someone who quoted the phrase that dehydration is the mother of all illnesses. You can do many research on this. I remember reading a book once about this, and it just talks about in detail, you know, how every cause of illness, inflammation, all that always stems from some sort of lack of water, whether it's like, you know, the nutrients in the water or the quality of it, your ability to actually be hydrated. And, you know, dehydration has a lot of different consequences. One study actually found that 5% of a person's body weight, a decrease in hydration of 5% of their body weight will decrease performance by roughly 30%. And for athletes, 2.5% decrease in hydration, being dehydrated, can result in 45% loss in their performance as an athlete. So that just goes to show you, like, the little bits, even 2.5%, even 5% being dehydrated matters. And so it's really important that we're actually hydrating on a proper level. And, you know, if you think about it, like, we know what it feels like to have dehydrated skin. So many of us spend so much money and time figuring out like what products are beneficial for our skin and the barriers of our skin on the outside. But what we fail to recognize is that a lot of the reasons our skin is like that on the outside is because we are dehydrated from within. So we need to put more of a focus on hydrating within our bodies. So, you know, I just want to ask, I know we just have, I think, is it Nina? I can't see the names right now.
Nadia.
Nadia. Hi, Nadia.
Yes. Hi.
I'd love to just ask you, you know, what type of water do you drink?
Generally, I prefer San Pellegrino.
San Pellegrino. Okay, so is there a reason why you do that?
Nope, I just prefer that type of water.
Okay,
sparkling.
well, that's actually interesting that you do see that. So when you're home, like, are you always drinking sparkling water?
Yes.
Okay, that is interesting that you say that because sparkling water is one of the waters that is always mineralized. It always has minerals
Oh.
in it, where a lot of other bottled waters don't. So it's interesting that you say that you prefer it because, you know, minerals, which we'll talk about later, actually has a really big impact on our body's functioning and on cellular level. So that's cool that you say that. So these are typically the main types of water people drink: tap, bottled, filtered, fridge, flow, you know, alkaline. And I actually did my own survey when I was on Instagram, and I wanted to know what people thought. So what I found, number one, I asked people, you know, what type of water do you drink? I had roughly around 100 people reply to this, so it was quite a few. I asked, you know, their preferred brand, and I listed about like 7 and then other. And then I asked people how much they're willing to spend on high quality water. And what's interesting is that most people voted, you know, either over 2 liters, which way wasn't that many, and under 15 cents. But what we actually find is that when you look at the cost of water, nothing you find is ever under 15 cents. So it's interesting people's lack of awareness of how much water they're actually spending, how much money they're spending on water to begin with. So let's go to the next slide. So tap versus Pyme water. I actually have 2 glasses right here, and I wanted to just do this experiment with everybody. So one of the reasons why tap water is, you know, a lot of people drink tap water, but why is tap water actually really detrimental for us? Tap water, they say, is, you know, chlorine is safe. It's safe amounts of this. It's safe amounts of that. I know that in North America, it's a very different, you know, level of hydrating than what we're used to, or that than in other places of the world, right? But the difference between the different, what we don't recognize is that when they're doing these tests, when they're saying it's safe amounts, they're only testing specific contaminants in the water. They're not actually testing every contaminant that exists there. So I don't have the means to actually do this myself, but what I do have the means to do is I have the means to test the chlorine level in my water. So this is an experiment that I ran, and I did tap water versus Pyme water. And on the right, you can see that this is Pyme water. I put a chlorine test in it, and this was a time lapse of 2 minutes. And on the left side, you see that's tap water. And what it's testing is the level of chlorine. And I figured, let me just do this with you guys now as I continue to talk. So you can see it in front of your, face. So right here, this is a chlorine test kit. You can get it like simply like a pool test kit. And usually what it says in this package right here is that you want your pool water to be around 1.3 and lower. You don't want it to be higher than that. What I found with this was that it was way higher than 1.3. And that was the tap water in Toronto, Ontario that most people are drinking. So to me, that was alarming in and of itself, because not only am I drinking, you know, like if you're drinking tap water, you're told it's safe, but that is kind of like a lot to me to be drinking that much chlorine when you could see the difference. And then, you know, thinking about what else is actually in the water that we're not being tested for. I actually don't remember which is which, but I don't know if you guys can tell, one of the glasses is like a lot foggier than the other. One of them has like a whole bunch of bubbles in them, one of them doesn't. And so I'm just going to put the dropper in both, and we'll be able to tell usually like right away which one is the tap water and which one is the Pyme water. I'm in BC right now, so I don't know what their tap water is like here. So we will find out, but I'm going to let these sit for a few minutes and leave it at that. Now, I didn't actually ask if her tap water is filtered, so we'll also find that out. But let's move on from here. So point of this is that, you know, tap water, you can only control so much. You don't know how much, what else is really in there. And then let's go on to, you know, bottled and filtered water. I actually did a lot of research on this myself. And what I found was that when you look at bottled water, at least on average, there's 325 microplastics per bottled water, per bottle of water um, in each one. So like that's just without that. And then you consider when you open the bottle, you actually release 1,400 to 75,000 individual microplastics just by opening the cap. And so that's what people are consuming on average every single time they drink bottled water. There's a lot of studies around how horrible microplastics are for you and for your health. So that's something I always recommend people to do their own research on, but that's definitely something to think about. And then, majority of the people in my test or in the test that I did saw, or said Nestle and Evian is what they drink. And as you can see in this, there's literally more that those were the two that had the highest levels of contamination when it came to microplastics. And then, then let's talk about like the environmental impact that people have that's on the environment. So on average, people drink around 1,000 bottles per year per person. This was the amount that, on 28 million disposable water bottles produced each year. All the effort that it goes into manufacturing that and how that impacts our environment. Where, our solution, which we're going to hear about, is environmentally friendly. We don't have this problem with that. So there's a lot to that. And then, where else we're going to find out is that filtering your water also impacts the level of acidity in the water. So filtered water gets rid of absolutely everything, right? It gets rid of the minerals in the water, and that impacts the level of pH. And that's actually something that's really important for our health. And so I'm going to pass this on to Elena, and I'm going to let her explain a little more about why acidity levels matter. But first, let's get into, the cost breakdown of this water that most people are drinking and our solution.
Okay, great. Give me 1 second. I'm just trying to switch the screen here on my end because for some reason, okay, there we go. Okay, so yeah, essentially what you're seeing here, like Savannah had mentioned, most people are either drinking tap, Brita to some degree, some type of fridge filter, or bottled water. A lot of us buy bottled water because it's not only a convenient solution, but it's a better solution to tap, right? So these are kind of like the main, I would say, contenders on the market when it comes to the type of water that we're consuming regularly. And if you're somebody who's already conscious about how the quality of your water matters, you might be, purchasing something like Flow or sparkling water, which I'm not too quite sure what the price or cost breakdown of sparkling water is. But as you can see, the comparison in terms of what you'd be spending per liter to the PyMeg waterfall system is significantly different. So not only is this a solution or an option that's better for and more conscious for your health, but it's actually better for your wallet. And that's just an interesting point to make when it comes to bringing awareness to how much we're actually spending on the water that we're consuming, and that it's not actually water that's doing anything for us. So if you go to the next slide, Thad, we talked a lot about the problems right now in terms of the lack of awareness. Svena, can you go to the next slide? Around what it is that we're actually consuming. And so the solution that we're referring to is the PyMeg waterfall system for a number of reasons. Mainly because it's a proper solution with respect to improving the quality of water that we use and consume, which, as we mentioned earlier, if we think about the fact that up to 60% of our body weight is water, it's important to consider what type of water we're consuming when we think about the question of health. We also just mentioned the fact that it is a better solution and alternative for your wallet and then for the planet. Our system is made of 100% recyclable material, biodegradable, and reusable, right? It's a countertop unit. It's easily assembled. You directly pour your tap into it and you get to use it daily without having to throw away and discard of any kind of plastic. So if you go to the next slide, Sav, I'm going to take you guys through how the system actually works. So it's a 4-stage filtration system. The first part is the actual filter in and of itself. So this has kind of got like a pre-filter and a second part to it. And as we essentially mentioned, tap water, no bueno. This is not something that we should be consuming on the regular, not when we're thinking about long-term health and all the implications that that infers. And so at the very least, having a filter that filters your water is paramount. Luckily, we have one of the highest grade filters on the market. Again, in terms of the standards that we're looking at, these are things that you can look into further for yourself in terms of understanding what these metrics mean. But essentially, we have a filter that is highly efficient at reducing contaminants in your tap water, including lead, because especially in North America, that's a really large contaminant that's constantly leaching into the water. And over time, that becomes carcinogenic, meaning creates cancer in the body. So we have a filter that is naturally, through gravity fed filtration, reducing contaminants, eliminating the bad that exists in the tap water. Now the only problem with that, and the problem with just having something like a filter, let's say even if you're using a Brita or a fridge filter, is that it not only takes out the bad, but it also takes out the good. So if you go to the next slide, Sav, the reason why this next stage and part of the system is so unique and so important is because minerals like calcium, magnesium, potassium naturally exist in tap water. And these are things that we need to be consuming regularly, mainly because these are massive reagents. And what that means is just massive, I would say chemicals, or not chemicals, sorry, massive components when you think about the regular reactions and bodily functions that take place that support your health. So not only where pH is concerned, as the water runs through the actual waterfall system and interacts with the stones, it's picking up these minerals, which is how water becomes mineralized in nature organically, like in riverbeds and natural springs. Mineral content is incredibly important. And as it picks up these minerals, it not only increases the alkalinity of your water, which is important in and of itself because we tend to consume a mainly acidic diet, and the body likes to be in a state of balance, especially when we're thinking about pH. Alkaline tends to be healthier than acidic because over time acidity can lead to chronic conditions because of inflammation. So the minerals are responsible for increasing the alkalinity of the water, but these minerals also create what we call ionized water. And this is also incredibly important when we think about things like chronic and slow cell death, aging, anything that leads to any kind of deterioration of the body. It's typically a result of what we call free radicals. And these free radicals essentially over time lead to cellular damage. And things like minerals, which are positive in nature, can neutralize the effects of free radicals, which are on the rise because of our modern diet and environment. So you have an increase in alkalinity that is, more conducive to the kind of environment that the body does well in terms of regular reactions and bodily function, but you're also neutralizing the damaging effects of essentially oxidation. So it's a natural antioxidant because of the mineral content within the water. And if you move on to the next slide, so the mineral stones are a primary component of that. And again, these are mineral stones that are meant to replicate what's naturally occurring in our environment in riverbeds. The same kind of properties of the stones you would find within those springs where the water is interacting and engaging with it in that way. And then the final part is very unique to Nikken in the sense that this one way to what we call structure water is by exposing water to a magnetic field, magnets. The reason why structured water is so important is because, as Savannah mentioned earlier, consumption doesn't always equal hydration. And so you can be drinking good quality water, but it could also just be going, leaving just as quickly as it's coming in, going right down the tube. So what does it actually look like to be consuming water that's going to effectively hydrate our cells? And that's where structure becomes really important. So the magnets, as the water is running through the tap, is able to break down water into microclusters. And what that does is it just makes it more bioavailable. And not only does it break it down, but it reconfigures the water into a shape that is more alive in a sense, what we call a hexagonal shape. When you study living water, in nature, you'll find that it always takes on this very clear hexagonal shape. It's what people have termed living water compared to dead water. And the reason why this is so important, again, is because it's now in the proper structure to like interact with our cells, to communicate, to more easily pass through the tissues of our body, to grab hold of oxygen, which is needed by our cells and our tissues to sustain health long term. So now we have water that's in the proper structure to actually be absorbed, which is really important when we're thinking about hydration and we're thinking about, again, the long-term effects of either hydration or dehydration. And so all of these three features, essentially, from filtration all the way through to the magnetic tap, work together to create clean, mineralized, alkalized, structured water. The kind of water that you would find naturally existing in the world around you, the environment around you, the kind of water that actually gives life to your body rather than takes life away from it. And the thing is, your body is always supporting you. It's always working for you. What we're talking about is creating conditions for the body to do what it was made to do. Because when we drink, for instance, dead water, water that has no mineral content in it, the body needs these minerals. And so what it'll start to do is look for it in other areas if it's not receiving enough. The main reservoir of calcium and magnesium in our body, for instance, is in our bones. And so the body will start to extract it from our bones because it needs that to balance out pH. And over time, we start to see bone deterioration. We start to see breakdown. And again, it's not because the body's not doing what it was made to do, but it's because it's working overtime to correct the decisions that we're making, either due to lack of awareness or just poor decision making. So again, the system is set up in a way to create water, the form of water that is actually supportive of our nature because it exists in nature. So that's how the system works in and of itself. I don't know if we want to, is there another slide after this, Savannah? I don't think so. You're muted. You're muted.
Hey, sorry about that. I do have another slide, which I'll pull up just so we can get into, the testimonials, because we've talked a lot about how this has impacted or what it does, right? But now let's get into, what people have actually experienced themselves. And so I know a lot of us, before we were consultants, we were consumers. We were people that were just trying it out for the first time. So we all have a story in and of ourselves. And I'm just going to pull up that slide now and we can talk about it.
Does someone want to start by sharing like what their experience has been so far since starting with the Pi-Mag water?
I'll go. One thing for me that's like always, I love the water. There's so many great things I could say about it, but what really stuck for me was the fact that it literally changed my daughter's skin. During the winter, I noticed her skin would always get these little dry patches like on her shoulder, her arms, or even like her face, like her would really be almost flaky to touch. Sorry, not flaky, scaly to touch, like super dry. And I noticed once we started showering in the naked shower head, like I have not seen any of that on her skin whatsoever. Like her skin is absorbing moisture better. Like all of our lotions is now like absorbing it onto her skin way better than it was a few years ago. So yeah, that's one of the things I absolutely love about the water. Like I love that for her. She's no longer in pain or like irritated.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Maya. Honestly, like I grew up with this stuff, but the biggest thing for me, like right now, I haven't had access to my shower, specifically my shower head, with the water. And so we didn't really talk that much about our shower head today, but the shower head basically makes the water comparable to drinkable water. It neutralizes chlorine ions, which helps to actually like soothe the skin. It adds oxygen by the source of microbubbles. That all helps to make your skin moisturized, more smooth. And I'm not kidding. My skin has been crawling in the shower ever since I've been away. And so I'm finally in a source where I can, shower in my Pi-Mag water, and I'm really excited about that. But like I can see it, like my skin has been reacting. I'm someone who has eczema, and like I have reactions all over my body since being away. So it really goes to show how immediate the effects are of specifically chlorine. And, if that's going on your skin, just remember what's going in your body as well is just as important, if not more. So yeah, the water has always been a key standpoint, especially the shower head for me. What about you guys?
Hey everyone, my camera's off. I don't feel well, but I do want to share my experience with the Pi Mag filter. So I grew up on well water. I always thought that it was fine to drink because it wasn't like treated at the municipal level with chlorine and stuff like that. I didn't really know what hard water does to our organs over time, like how that, if you visualize like how hard water calcifies on the faucets, like that can actually happen like inside our bodies too. So once I started educating myself just about water and the importance of quality water, that's when I started to become into water filters, and I invested in the Berkey at first before I even knew about Nikon. When I moved to Ottawa, like I immediately could taste the chlorine in the tap water, so I got the Berkey filter, which was good. I had that for about a year, until a friend of mine, Sophia, introduced me to the Pi Mag water, and I just like was blown away by the taste. The mineral rocks, like just the mineral water and the alkaline water just taste so smooth and amazing. And when I compared it to the Berkey, like I couldn't even like fathom that what I was drinking. It did not taste good anymore. So I got the water pack to start, and I I gave it to my mom actually because they were still on well water, and my mom had has really coarse hair to begin with and dry skin, and the water pack comes with the shower mount. So she immediately installed it. Within like 1 week, her coarse hair was like starting to smooth out and her skin was less dry. She noticed a huge difference with the shower filter. Um, and then, yeah, like my dad now drinks water like a champ. Like he never really drank water before. And then I just took the water bottle because the water pack comes with the water bottle as well. So I would just drink out of my water bottle. And then when I came home and I was like, I had my Berkey, I finally decided to sell it on Facebook Marketplace because they're expensive filters, like they compare in price wise to the Pi Mag. So I sold my Berkey on Facebook, and then I bought my own Pi Mag countertop waterfall for my home. So I'm really, really happy about that. And the water just doesn't compare. Honestly, I don't even know what else to say. It just doesn't compare.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've honestly noticed my hair gets dirtier quicker when I'm not in it, also when I'm not showering in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I noticed my hair even transforming slowly. And I've had the shower filter installed at my house for about a month now. And I just noticed that my skin is less itchy. Like I wasn't being fully present, I guess, knowing that my skin was itchy because of the chlorine. I hadn't like really put two and two together. And then when I installed the shower head, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not itchy anymore. So yeah.
Mhm. Amazing. Kyla, I'd actually love to hear from you just because we had her dad speak a few weeks ago. And
I
oh
was
God, his story is just so funny that I need you to tell it.
I can share mine briefly and then I'll share his because I feel like that's just absolutely amazing. But I'm someone who's like suffers from really bad headaches. I have severe cystic acne, and I was just like thirsty all the time, never feel well. My stomach always hurt. And now all I do is just crave like Pi Mag and alkaline water. And I was just telling Nadia before you guys got on, like when I'm at a restaurant and stuff, I only order like bubbly, sparkling water because I can't drink anything else. And then actually, this previous weekend, I was drinking tea all weekend, and it wasn't like tea that I had taken from the waterfall. And I actually noticed that I had a bit of a reaction to my skin. So that was something that hasn't really happened since I started drinking the water. And then my dad, this is a great story. My dad used to sell reverse osmosis filters when he was younger. So he was like, you know what? Let me get one of these filters. Like, I want to be your first customer. I want to test this out and give you a testimonial. and he actually gets terrible heartburn. And he's been drinking the water for his heartburn, and it's been instantly going away from the heartburn. So he's no longer taking his heartburn medication, drinking the water. And then when he goes to his office, he found that he would like fill up his glass of water with the tap water, and he felt it actually burning his throat, and it was going down his esophagus like acid. So he texted me, he goes, "You got to get me one of these for my lab. I can't stand to drink the water anymore." And now all of his employees are loving it and going crazy. So he just actually ordered one for his friend and my mom for a birthday gift. So he's just loving this whole situation. And I thought he was going to think it was crazy, and he can't drink anything else now. And he's the same thing. He goes to a restaurant and he's like, "Nope, we actually don't drink bottled water. I'll take the sparkling water." Next time I'm at a restaurant with him, I'll video him saying, "We don't drink tap water."
That's funny.
I need to meet your dad, but that's so
Yeah.
incredible. Honestly,
He's really incredible.
I like relate to that because even when I'm like out and about, I mean, like you guys know, my sport bottle has been, I mean, I miss my waterfall, my countertop unit dearly, but my sport bottle has been my main travel accessory over the last couple of months. I literally have said to everybody, I would be fine with losing anything else except for this bottle. Like if I lose this bottle, there will be tears in my eyes. And
Can I just speak on the bottle quickly?
yeah, of course.
So I look after two little boys in the evening, and when I bring my water bottle, their parents haven't purchased a filter yet, or a waterfall, sorry. And when I bring my water bottle, they drink out of my water bottle as opposed to their bottles.
Yeah, kids are
So-
I've noticed too that kids love the water bottle. Like anywhere
Very
I'm around my
cute.
nieces, they take my water bottle. They won't give it back.
Yeah. So that's been like a very interesting experience too, like them just kind of picking that over their tap water. And I just think it's like more easily accessible for them. So
Mhm.
that's nice to see.
Definitely. Definitely. Kids are also highly intuitive. It's like the same thing with like animals when you put two different sources of water in front of a dog, for instance.
Oh,
That
I
nine
did
times
it
out of
to my
10.
sister's dog.
And what happened?
So I filled up two different colored bowls. My friend was joking because
Wait, did you really?
colors. So I filled up a green bowl with the Mag water, an orange bowl with the tap water. I had to fill up the green bowl twice, and he finished it.
That's really cool. And so he didn't drink the other water.
No, he wouldn't touch it.
That's what
Wow.
thing. We need to get that on film.
I know, Kylie, you gotta record that so we can show everyone. That's pretty unreal.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I pulled up here is just a slide. Because Ellen was sharing with us how actually I don't know if you shared with us where the pie water was really originally.
I actually didn't get into the story, but
So pie water was actually developed or discovered and named based off a study done in Osaka, Japan. And it's one of the blue zones of the world where majority of people live to be like over 100. They live really long. And one of the reasons that they traced, their life back to the water that they were drinking was because they observed the plant life. And they saw how vibrant plant life was in that region. They saw that, it was really resistant to pests. It grew really quickly. The colors were so rich, and the nutrient levels of the plants themselves were very rich. And so what somebody did in Nikken was they actually did a science fair over 5 weeks with 4 different sweet potatoes. And as you can see, they put, a sweet potato in tap water, distilled water. Distilled water is like, filtered water, fridge water, think like that. Like it's water that has no nutrients in it, no minerals. It's filtered, but it has no minerals in it. And there's well water, which still doesn't really have, the minerals in it, contaminants in it. And then there's the pie mag water. And as you can see, pie mag water did the best in terms of growth out of anything else. And that's just going to show what it does for plants. So you can imagine the benefits that this water has for a person, like on your body. So from that being said, I'd love to just take any questions, Nadia, if you have any. Yeah, I think we went around like 30-ish minutes.
So I think one question would just be the cost. I know you showed the cost per liter. What is the
Yes.
overall cost? What is the package?
Okay, that's a great question. So I can pull that up. But so the cost itself for the system is $537 for the unit. The water pack, I believe, ranges, it's around am I right? 747. I don't know if I'm correct in that. I'm kind of estimating, but
I think
around
it's slightly up, slightly above,
slightly up.
like 820 it might be.
Okay. So no, I don't think it ranges in that level. And in terms of the system, so it's the cost breakdown, which we were mentioning, is it's 500, around 500 for the unit. For the whole pack, it was around
820.
sorry,
It's 820.
is 620? Okay, so
the pack.
820 for the pack. The prices just changed, fluctuated with stuff, so I'm still learning the new ones, but that's for the breakdown of that. The pack comes actually with extra filters for each system. So it comes with 2 filters for the sport bottle, 1 filter for the waterfall, and 1 extra filter for the shower head. So that one, you get a cost saving of 10%, which is really great. And the waterfall system has free shipping on it. So does all the packs. So right now we're actually doing buy one, get one 50% off as well. So if you buy a shower head, you can get another shower head 50% off. Really great if you want to get as a gift, or you have 2 locations, or you want to split the cost with a friend. Ends up saving a lot of money in that way. And yeah, so we actually never do anything like this, but they did it last month. Everybody absolutely loved it. The promotion went so well that they decided to do it again. I'm pretty sure the waterfall's on back order now because it's just been like, so everyone's just been buying bottles, or waterfalls. And then, yeah, so we were talking about the cost breakdown. So when you actually look at how much it costs compared to the slide that we were talking about, the initial cost of the system, when you figure for 1 year, so let's say, the system holds this amount of liters, there's this many days in the year. Overall, you end up spending, it's 22 cents a liter for the water in the first year. And if you're looking at it on average of over 3 years, it ends up being 11 cents for 3 years, including your initial cost. If you don't include your initial cost, then the first year is 22 cents a liter. Every single year after that, you're only paying for filters. Filters are $60. You buy 4 a year. You end up paying 6 cents a liter. And I don't know if you remember what our other bottles looked like, but I was walking through the aisles the other day and I saw Nestle, which is one of the worst qualities of bottled water, for $1 a liter. So you can really see the cost breakdown when you're looking at what people are really currently drinking. Like, I don't even think, I don't know how often Britas are replaced, but even if you're considering quality, in terms of what exists for quality, this is the highest quality and the cheapest of anything that I've at least found. And then when you're looking at, there was something, Flow water. Oh my God, so many people do know the benefits of like alkaline water, right? So they're like, I'm gonna buy Flow. I'm gonna drink something like that. Flow water costs, I think we were looking at it. So if you buy a pack on Flow's site, it's around $2.89 a liter, $2.89 a liter, which is absolutely insane for water. No one should be paying that much for water. No one should. Yeah. So in terms of the cost breakdown, that's kind of how it was. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yeah, you did actually.
Great.
You did.
All right. Well, in that case, the buy one, get one's up until the end of the month. And of course, there's always, whoever invited you to this call or whoever sent you this recording, shoot them a message if you have any questions. If you want to purchase, again, message them. They'll be able to help you out with all of that. They'll be able to, give you some cost saving tips or anything. And thanks all for being here.
That's great. Thank you guys. You guys did great with the presentation.
Awesome.
Very
I'm glad to
informative.
hear. I'm glad
Thanks,
to hear
guys.
that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, have a good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Adios.